Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Post to Post. I am Jason. Neil is not here with me. Neil is actually traveling for work down to Boston, as many of you know who have listened to the podcast. He's going to a game Thursday, which by the time this video comes out, it'll be late Wednesday night probably. So he'll be at the game on Thursday. So there was no planned extra videos for this week. We pre-recorded a podcast that's going to go live on Sunday. Having a yak, and then I'll be back in with him next Sunday for the following podcast. But some serious news has gone down this week so far since Neil has been traveling for work. We've got a GM parting ways in New Jersey, and then the bombshell news that Gerard Gallant is out in Vegas. And I heard this news when I got home from work, and then I had to go out and run some errands and stuff. It was a busy day at work. Busy day doing errands, so it's just after 9:30 here Atlantic time, so 8:30 Eastern, when I'm actually having time to sit down and just think about it. And I can't believe that it happened. Like, I am absolutely shocked. And I'm so shocked that I decided, hey, I'm going to come down to the podcast studio and I'm going to record myself talking about how shocked I am. So I don't know how informative this video is going to be. I don't really like being in front of the camera. But since Neil's not here to make a video about this, I figured I'll at least put something out there so that the community can talk amongst themselves in the comments and share how they feel. Personally, Gerard Gallant is so high up on my list of coaches that if anything, like, I'm a huge Bruins fan. Minus, like, ignore this hat right here. Like, anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Bruins fan. This is probably my number 2 team, but if Bruce Cassidy were to go, Gerard Gallant would be my number 1. Like, I wouldn't even have to think about it. If Neil was here and he just asked me a random question, like, who would you have coach the Boston Bruins? And he gave me a minute to think about it, I wouldn't need a minute. I'd have an instant answer. So when I heard this news, I was absolutely flabbergasted, like, just shocked. And then I started wondering, like, is it weird that my reaction of not understanding this and being shocked weird? Like, have I not paid enough attention to the Vegas Golden Knights this year that I didn't see this coming? So right before I came downstairs to turn this camera on and talk to you guys, I just did a little bit of PVR skipping for the shows that I tape while I'm at work. And it seems like everybody's surprised, at least in terms of the Canadian media. Now, mind you, Vegas is just about as far that way from me as it can be. I'm here in Atlantic time zone. Well, here on this side, I guess, if you're looking at it that way. And Vegas is just clearly across, basically on the other side of the country. But you got a coach that took the team to the Stanley Cup Finals on their very first year. Jack Adams Award winner. Second year, last year, gets them back into playoffs and gets absolutely screwed by a reffing call, which is the only reason they didn't potentially go further and maybe even win the whole thing last year. Now this year, I mean, if you look at the West, there's so much parity. Everything is close, right? Like they're outside looking in, but, you know, add 5 points to them and they're in second place, first place. Like, it's that close. Like, they're on a 4-game losing skid. Like, does that warrant a coaching change? Like, this is now the 7th coach that's been fired. We just had a podcast last week where we talked about a 6th coach being fired. And Neil brought up the fact that, you know, Claude Julien had 2 8-game losing streaks this year, and he's still coaching the Montreal Canadiens. But Gerard Gallant has one instance or one little streak where the team isn't playing well, and that's it. So Kelly McCrimmon comes out and says we've seen consistency issues. Like, consistency issues. We're, like a lot of teams, had real high hopes for the year, still have real high hopes for the year. We're in a unique position where we're right in the mix. So this isn't a case where the bottom fell out and we were left with no choice. It was a situation more where proactively it was our belief that this was going to be the best thing for our organization. I don't get it. To me, this reeks of an owner. An owner who got spoiled on his first year. The Cinderella story. You got the shooting in Vegas. The city rallies around the team, and they go on that magical run. Everyone loved it. Nobody watching this video probably didn't love that. Like a brand new team, they don't have to be your team. A bunch of players that, George McPhee did a great job doing all those backdoor deals, but generally speaking, this is a group of players that all of the teams in the NHL said, we're going to protect these guys, you can have these guys. They were the castaways. And Gerard Gallant took those castaways to a Stanley Cup final. Jack Adams Award winner, Coach of the Year, right? And like I said, last year, the team got boned by a bad reffing call. They could have gone on. They could have won it last year. And they're not out of it this year. Right? Like, to say there was consistency issues, like, you are an expansion team. You're not supposed to be where you are, but you are. And to me, that says, number one, you got a good GM, which you do. Number two, you got a good coach, which you did. And number three, you got players that are rallying together and potentially overachieving, which maybe a little bit of, but also there's been a lot of players that have, they got a chip off their shoulder to say to their former teams, hey, look what I can do when I'm given the chance. So all those three things for the last 2 years have made Vegas an awesome team, right? Best expansion team by far. And then in the third year, or the first half or the start of the third year of an expansion team, you've already fired your coach, which is considered to be one of the best coaches in the game, a coach that your players like playing for, who has won the Jack Adams Award and is also coaching in the All-Star game. I don't see how Kelly McCrimmon is making this call. And if he is, then it's a ballsy call. I'll give him that. I don't see this is a call being made by GM George McPhee. To me, this is an owner, right? Like a guy who pays $550 million for a team. You know what? You got that much money, you can do what you want, right? You spent the money, it's your team. If you want to step in, that's his right to do. But this reeks of an owner who maybe doesn't understand the game necessarily, who thinks that based on the first year and the second year, I expect my team to be in the Stanley Cup contention every year. And if they're not going to be, then obviously there's a problem somewhere and we're going to deal with that. And today they dealt with that by getting rid of probably one of the best coaches in the league. And I'm just flabbergasted by it. I'm almost like mad about it. Like, I don't mean to have this tone in my voice, but like, I am a huge Gerard Gallant fan. And I just feel like this organization did him wrong. They didn't give him a chance. Based on everything this coach gave you, playoff runs, Stanley Cup finals, bringing in the hardware for the coaching award, and the team has a little bit of sputtering, which every team out in the West is having. That's why it's so close. Right? But this guy here gets no rope. As soon as you see a little bit of consistency issues, he's gone and DeBoer is in. Right? And it's funny because he called him a clown last playoffs, which is just, I don't know if that's karma or hockey gods or what. But Gerard Gallant in the press conference during the playoffs, he basically called DeBoer a clown. He's obviously not a DeBoer fan. And next thing you know, they're bringing in DeBoer to replace him. So like I said, I'm not following Vegas the highest. Like, Boston's my team. I live on the Atlantic coast. All those games start at like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. I can't stay up and watch all those. So I understand from afar. I don't necessarily know exactly what's going on there. But I do know Gerard Gallant. I know he was treated dirty in Florida in the Carolina game where they basically fired him right after the game. They didn't even help him get his stuff to the airport. He had to get his own cab, and one of the Carolina staff members actually is out there helping him put his stuff into the friggin' taxi cab. Like, you can see the shot of him on the street. Like, obviously he's embarrassed, and there's a guy with a red Carolina sweater that has like a team uniform on that's helping him. The Florida the organization couldn't even give him the decency of that. And then here, you've got him being fired right out of the blue when the team's on a little bit of a losing skid. And I just don't understand. And to me, this almost looks like a bad trend. And it all goes back to St. Louis when they went on their cup run. The worst team in hockey in January. Get rid of a coach, bring in a new guy, and the magic happens. And all the owners look at that and say, hey, that could be us. We're close. We fire our coach. We get a new lease on life or whatever. The players change up and we go on a run. Look at all the other coaches that fired the other teams that fired their coaches that year and see where they went. None of them made the playoffs. None of them made the playoffs the year after, except for one of them. So, I mean, sure, sometimes it works, but that Cinderella story of the St. Louis Blues doesn't happen very often. In fact, that's the first time that's happened. And I just think that the owner of the team, the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, has his hands all over this. And I think that's super unfortunate because I think this is Gerard Gallant is, like I said, I can't say it enough. I think he's one of the best coaches in the game. And I just think I think a guy that brings this much to that team over the last 2 years deserves more rope than this. And you cut him loose. 2.5 years into your new franchise and you've already let your coach go and you've been to the Stanley Cup Finals twice, or the Stanley Cup Finals once and the playoffs twice. And you got screwed on the second time. And then consistency issues the next year, and he's gone and you're bringing another guy in. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. This is totally shocking. You can let us know or let me know what you think in the comments. Sorry, Neil, if you don't like this video. I didn't mean to rant, but whew. Gerard's my boy, man. And he has got the short end of the stick twice in a row now, as far as I'm concerned. If I'm Seattle, I'm picking this guy up almost immediately. This is the coach Seattle should have. And treat him a little better. Look what he brought this team, and look at how you treated him. Unbelievable. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Sorry for ranting. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Neil's traveling, and we'll be back. There's going to be more videos releasing this week that Neil's already has planned. But once he gets back from his trip, maybe I'll have him come down to the podcast studio, and we won't film necessarily a podcast since we already have one coming out for this Sunday. But maybe we'll just have like a short little video we'll put out, just kind of summarizing the week because a lot's going on, and he's not here to talk about it, and I'm going to want to say a few things, and I'm sure he will too. So we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks very much. See ya.